G'day, Michael. Welcome back to the Bias Opinion and our wrap up on the Olympics on day two, the semi-finals and the finals. All I can say is wow. What was your reaction to? I guess let's start at the semi-finals.
Yeah, I guess wow as well. Every race that sort of went had me jumping out of my seat and just going, "Whoa, what is happening?" Really. Yeah, with the first semis, the Elise and Zoe Klassen's crash over the first jump, couldn't believe my eyes when both of they were two of my favourites went down, and eventually he ended up going on to not qualify into the final, which was a shock, I think. And yeah, in the men, one of the semis kind of was going smoothly, obviously, until the last race where Connor unfortunately took a crash in the first corner. Still qualifying for the final, but not being able to ride due to, I think, head problems or concussion. And I think that semi went pretty as planned, as expected. Sylvain went through. He rode really well. I think Kai White was in that race. I'm going to get it wrong, aren't
I? What was Kai? And Kai was with Nick and Joris, Alfredo.
Yeah, and then that was the other semi, which was absolutely crazy. And it was, I think the main point we can take from it is it's really good racing, and other than the big crashes, I think it was a really good showcase of our sport. There was no predicted sort of winner. You couldn't just say, okay, he's going to win this race, and it went that way, and everything that could have happened. And I think that's for the better of our sport, and especially for the showcase. And the women especially, it was absolutely crazy. I think the semis, the people that we expected to go through were flipped upside down. The four that you didn't expect went through, and the four that you did expect didn't go through. So I think that's really good for the women's racing as well, because in the past it was kind of a little bit predictable, where now the depth's getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, that was really cool. And yeah, I think the three semi-finals, I mean, I like it. You get to see more racing of the top guns, men and women. And yeah, I just guess with the Olympics, with the pressure on the line, with everything on the line, everyone's pushing to get that extra inch, and that's why a few crashes kind of happen. But that's our sport at the end of the day. And yeah, from my perspective, I think we had a good racetrack, a good showcase, and good racing, and deserved winners and deserved podium placings.
So what do you think happened with Tuan? Do you think it was a nerves thing? He seemed to be strong, but just in the bad spot each time. Like his gates weren't as strong. And what do you think went wrong with Tuan?
A little bit the same as someone like Graf, which we can get to, but it must all start with that first semi on the day. I guess if you start off strong, you can have all this confidence, and if you don't, it's going to sort of affect you negatively. And I think in Tuan's first race, he did have a good start. Didn't get the greatest first straight, which then he slotted into fourth. Bonked the jump into the corner, which put him back even more. And it looked like Tuan was just like, okay, reset, and we'll come out strong in the next one. And I think with an outside lane, he wanted an inside lane. So he had an outside lane, and he just couldn't make it work in that second race, and then it was over. So it's you do get three chances, but it's pretty sudden death. So I think on another day, Tuan could have gone on and been in the final and been a contender, but it just didn't work that way. And like I said with Graf, it was similar. Yesterday he had lane one, and he looked really, really, really good. He was beating Connor, and then today he kind of got stuck in lane three, I want to say, in that first race, and he was just in fifth the whole way. He couldn't sort of push through and make his mark. And then the second race, he said he got a flat tyre, but I'm not sure if it was leaking slowly or what. But it was kind of just things didn't go his way, and unfortunately we didn't see him in the final.
I guess Corbin Sherrar, we spoke about him yesterday, and kind of expected him to really step up today, and that didn't happen either. What do you think it was about Corbin?
Yeah, I was really hoping Corbin would sort of show his best side like he did in a couple of races yesterday. Today, but yeah, like I said yesterday, it's impossible for 8 people to have their best race. So I guess it just wasn't Corbin's day, and yeah, who knows why? I don't want to guess and tell you what I think, just because there's so many things that go on, I guess, and Olympics is a huge stage with so much pressure. So I don't know. I guess sort of what I've seen from the outcome of the racing is the ones that have been in the thick of it, sort of with the best build-up, have sort of paid off, and they have sort of ended the day strong. The ones that looked strong earlier in the year have kind of kept growing and sort of did really well at these games. Nick's been racing all year, and we said on the earlier show, if he can turn that switch on in his head, no one's going to stop him. And today it showed. He turned that switch on, and no one was stopping him. And I think Kai White's looked strong all year. That showed off, and then Carlos, he is probably my favourite racer in terms of if there's someone on the track that needs to get through a pack and race, it's Carlos, and that made me really happy to see him come through for third. Although I would have liked to see Joris on the podium. It was unfortunate to see him wash out in the last corner, but it was really cool to see Carlos on the podium as well.
Joris was probably the biggest washout for the whole of the Olympics. Do you think he just overcooked the corner, or a bit of a brain fart?
Yeah, I got no idea. I did see it a couple times. I'm not sure if it was on that paint. They had like Tokyo 2020 on the paint. Yeah, I'm not sure. It was quite a weird one. He kind of didn't have to protect his line. He wasn't trying to overtake anyone. He just came in and the wheels fell out from underneath him. So that was really weird. But who knows if it was on that sticker, the Tokyo 2020 paint or sticker, whatever it is. Maybe that has something to do with it, but that would be heartbreaking for Joris. I would say it's his last Olympics. I'm not sure, but I think he should have had a good chance to be in the final at Rio. He obviously broke his elbow in the quarters, and then this year he was in third, unfortunately washed out.
Do you think the 3-year gap to the next Olympics could potentially see people put their retirements on hold?
Yeah, I think so, especially if they did have a underwhelming experience this time. They might just say, well, it's only a year until Olympic qualifying starts, maybe take a year, chill, and then sort of build back into it next year or the following year. So maybe, well, I guess we'll see. I think a lot of people will announce what they're doing after the World Champs in Papendal. And then, yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, 3 years doesn't sound as big as 4 years.
Yeah. Lauren Reynolds had a bit of a chat with the reporters after the race and indicated that she's interested in sticking with it for another few years, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think Lauren's been around the scene for so long, and this was probably the best I've ever seen her ride, which was really cool. She ended up 5th in the final, didn't she? Yeah, which is awesome. I think in our sport, all sports actually, we look at the podium, and then anything else other than the podium we don't even look at. But you've got to give them credit where credit's due, and 5th place in the Olympic finals, pretty damn awesome. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people may not remember that in 4 years' time when the commentators are saying what people's history is. They don't necessarily mention that they were a finalist, mostly a medalist. But yeah, someone like a Lauren, especially here in Australia, has quite a big following, and I think people are going to keep their eye on her. That's for sure.
Yeah, she did awesome. She deserves it.
I did see. France had 3 men in the final, and when I saw that happening, I thought, they're bound to get a medal, but just nothing came of it. That was a bit of a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the way Romain rode today, I was like, he's going to win. No way you're going to stop him from winning, and then the same with Joris. He rode really good, and then, like I said so many times, Sylvain, you can't bet against him getting on the podium either. So it wouldn't have surprised me for a second if it was France 1, 2, 3. And then to see none of them get on the podium, it's like, oh man, it's heartbreaking, because that still means no French males ever got an Olympic medal.
Oh wow!
which is crazy when you think about how dominant France have been. The weight goes on.
So, did you expect Nick would end up with the number one at all, or was there any stage today you thought, "Oh no, Nick's got this one"? I mean, you've spoken about Romain and some of the others, but what about Nick?
I think he's been everyone's one favourite from the start. I think the most common name in everyone's mouth was Nick, and after his crash with the official, it was like, "Oh, is this the reason he's not going to win?" And after seeing him yesterday in the quarterfinals, I was like, he was beating Tuan. I was like, "Oh, he's obviously still able to put out some good strength and power out the gate." And yeah, you'd be silly to bet against Nick. So I
So,
kind of expected that if he could get that switch on in his head, which it looked like he had, he was going to be unstoppable. But it's BMX; you can't really guarantee anything. But
do you think at the next Olympics people are going to start lining up officials during practice because it seems to work?
I said that to someone. I said next race I'm going to try and official. No, it's definitely didn't surprise me. Nick winning. He was a favourite throughout.
Kai looked good yesterday, and was quite consistent today in his semis. But to come through and get second behind Nick, it was a pretty good effort, wasn't it? He looked so amazing. Like his track speed was crazy. It's just the first straight, he looked like he'd struggled a couple of times.
Yeah, he's like when he's on the first straight, he is on. Like he can be one of the fastest guys, and when he's off, I guess he just gets squashed and he's out the back. But he always makes his way through. So Kai's another one who you wouldn't bet against. And before the final, I was texting one of my friends, and I mean there was so many of them. All 8 of them could have podiumed, but Kai just always seems to be in the top 4. And if you're in the top 4, you might be in the top 3. So no, he had a good gate, put himself in the mix, and I actually thought he might have tracked Neat down. He did get a little bit wobbly into the second corner on the step down, and I think that was the difference.
He overjumped. Was it the first double?
On the second.
In the first straight.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think he was
But then
out in front.
into the second corner, he jumped manualed it and kind of went a little bit squirmily, a little. And I think if he didn't do that, he could have been. He wasn't far off Nick at the finish line, but he could have maybe challenged him a little bit more. But second's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then for third, like I said, Carlos, he's an absolute racer. So I always knew he'd also be in the mix.
So we spoke about Bethany yesterday, and she seemed to be carrying a lot of momentum in today. And then to go on and win every heat in her semi, and then take it to Mariana and everyone else that was left after all the carnage. It was a pretty good effort. I couldn't have seen that coming when she was racing here in Australia for the World Cups in Shepparton. I don't think she made the finals at all. I think she might have even struggled to make a semi. So she's come a long way in that time, hasn't she?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Bethany, she's junior world champ in 2017, Rock Hill. I think she won a World Cup either that year or the following year in 2018 in Zolder. I can't remember which year it was. So like she's proven at times that she is one of the fastest in the world. And then earlier this year in Verona, she was hole shotting from the outside and jumping that triple really nicely. And I was kind of seeing her. I was like, wow, like she's really sort of rising at the right time. But then, yeah, the Olympics, she stepped up to a completely new level. And you could just see her on the gate, how relaxed she was. She was having fun. She was just being herself, which I guess at the Olympics, it proves to be quite hard to just relax and treat it as another race. And Beth was doing that. And it was pretty damn impressive. And you wouldn't have bet against her in that final. The whole day she was sort of dominating and she was so stylish, jumped manually into the first turn, and yeah, she was very all round. Good gate, good track speed, and yeah, very good to watch.
It was amazing to see Mariana score a third medal. It wasn't another gold, but silver you can't get upset by, could you?
No, I think Mariana, the way she reacted, I think the silver medal was a gold medal to her with the build-up. sort of she's had with the last, I guess, 2-3 years. She did her ACL, which is a huge recovery, and then to come back, I guess, and with the depth the women have at the moment to work her way up, and the way things went to get a silver medal, she's over the moon, as she should be. She's the queen of BMX. To get 3 medals, 2 gold, 1 silver, it's amazing.
When you talk about that ACL recovery, she was actually off the bike for over 12 months, wasn't she?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was a long time. ACL recoveries are normally around 12 months or 9-12 months. So yeah, it was a long time, and I guess COVID's been a blessing for a few people. I think Kai White was actually injured leading into the last Olympics if they were to go ahead. He did race in Australia, but I think that was his first race back. He did race in Australia, didn't he?
Yeah. I remember watching the finals, and he was standing right behind me.
Yeah, so I think that might have been his first sort of race back, and yeah, so I guess COVID's been a blessing in disguise for some people, give them some more time to get back from some injuries, and yeah.
And Merle for third. She's had quite a few podiums, second to her sister at the World Championships in Baku, I think. So it's not surprising to see her in third, although she did only just scrape through into the final as a result of Saya and Elise crashing together. So to have, really struggled to come through and then pull off a third, that's an amazing effort.
Yeah, and I think we were all expecting to see the name Smulders on the podium. Maybe some of us thought Laura, but Meryl's obviously on the same level. So when Laura went down hard, that was kind of hard to watch, see Laura go out. I think it was in the first semi, and you could tell she was sort of injured after that. And then, the way Meryl's semi went, it was basically flipped upside down in that last race. But yeah, she looked strong. Like, her first straights were really good, and that put her in the mix. She was second into the first turn in the final.
Yep.
Marianne kind of just squeezed her up, and she's very experienced the way she dealt with that. But no, Meryl did well, and to get third, it was, I think, deserved for that final, the way it rode.
So Felicia was good to watch all weekend, or not all weekend, but over the 2-day period, boosting a lot of the jumps that some of the other girls weren't even trying, and carrying a lot of speed and momentum, looked strong the whole time. What I thought was interesting, I think it was just before the final, the camera was on them while they were behind the hill.
Yeah.
And she was like so focused, and you could see Bethany Shriver behind her waiting for Felicia to start moving, and then she actually had to say something that had a bit of a chuckle to the camera, whereas Felicia was straight faced the whole time. So maybe maybe she just put too much pressure on herself.
Yeah, I guess different things work for different people. Some people are laughy, jokey before a race. Some people are very serious, and different things work for different people. And I think Felicia was probably one of the unlucky ones not to be on that podium. But in saying that, it's BMX, and everyone who's on that podium deserves to be on there today.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it is tough. I think Felicia's showing her speed and showing how fast she is this whole past 2 years, I guess. So it's I'm sure that's tough to get fourth, and the same in the men with Sylvain Andre to finish fourth. I'm hoping that he goes for another 3-year cycle so we can see him again at the Olympics, because he's so experienced. If you want to see sort of how to race BMX, I think he's the person to watch. He's relaxed, he has fun, he's got the right sort of sportsmanship around the track, and just the way he races is just perfect. So
yeah,
really good to see him ride, and I guess he was one of the ones I wanted to see on the podium.
Was there anyone else that we should bring up about how they went?
Special shout out to Rebecca from New Zealand. I thought she rode really, really good, especially after her crash yesterday. She was in the mix to get in that final, and I think it was between her, Smulders, Afremova from Russia, and I think Drew from Canada. I think they were all kind of within 1 point, so whoever did the best in that last race got through. So she was really close, and I mean, even to be that close to making the Olympic final is a huge success in itself. So shout out to Rebecca. And yeah, I think also, one that really did well with her build-up was Simone Christensen from Denmark. She's been under the surgery knife not too long ago, and European champs probably a month ago was her first race back, and she looked really solid. I think she finished 6th in the final, or behind Lauren. So she didn't look like the whole day. I never doubted her making the final. Like, she was always there. With crashes or not, I kind of just felt Simone was going to make it. So I thought she did really well to make it. And in the men, there was Campo. He was the same. He was always there or thereabouts, and pretty cool for him to go on and make the Olympic final. So no, it was really good. Yeah, I guess with we didn't speak about Sayers and Elise's incident in the semi-final. That was a big sort of wall moment where you expected. I think if Elise had gone second in that race, she would have qualified.
Yeah,
I might be.
Yeah.
She'd gone
looks like she would.
8-3-2. Yeah, and then obviously Sayer would have qualified as well. But
yeah,
the thing people don't really understand, and I guess hindsight's beautiful, but the reason Elise was being such a aggressor in that race was to get first lane choice. Like, she wanted to beat Sayer. She didn't want to just be in the final. She wanted that first lane choice to then obviously win the gold. So she was a bit aggressive getting across on Sayer, which caused him to crash. But at the end of the day, in Elise's brain, she was like, I need to beat Sayer here to get first lane choice. It's obviously easy now to say, oh, you should have just played it safe, got in the final, and then you could have won. But at the time when Elise is coming down that third track, she sees she's got more momentum than Sayer, and she's like, I need to win this. And unfortunately, they both went down, which was two more of the favourites out. It was really hard to see, especially with the way everything had gone. Sayer's obviously a favourite, and with everything that's happened to Kai, and it would have been a fairy tale come true if Sayer had got on that podium. But it's the way BMX goes, and hopefully she's all right and lives to fight another day.
So with Rebecca making it to the semis, does that help the New Zealand team with funding or anything like that?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'd certainly hope so. Like, Rebecca's kind of done it on her own, in a sense. Like, she pays for Matt Cameron as a coach out of her own pocket, and she travels out of her own pocket as well. So to go and make a semi-final at the Olympics with, I guess, not a great build-up in terms of racing and everything, I think that shows how talented we are as a country. And hopefully we can get some money behind us and sort of get back to where we were one stage, because I think, like I said, we've got a lot of talent in our country, but right now with the funding and stuff that we do get, it's going to be hard to sort of fight with these other countries that are sending riders all around the world to ride professionally. So hopefully Rebecca's performance can sort of get some money and get us back to where we belong.
If travelling opens up again, best case scenario, you said Olympic qualification starts again in another year. Would that mean that you take a bit of a break as far as international travel, or would you do some of the World Cups next year?
I think it's important to always keep race ready. To take a year off racing is probably never going to be good. It's going to take so long to get back into the swing of things when you do decide to come back. So I get it is too far away to sort of give you an answer. But I'll always keep racing, whether it's in Australia, in New Zealand, whatever. I'll keep racing. I would never take a break from racing, because at the end of the day, it's our sport.
Yeah.
But no, personally, I want to go home and just reset, get some goals, and this will be the first sort of Olympic cycle where I'm on the New Zealand program, and I've got some goals to chase and some things I want to achieve. So it'll be really exciting once I get home and reset. I've just seen that they're redoing my home track and getting the 8 meter sorted, because we've had an 8 meter for a while, but it's out of spec. So we're going to have that locked in, and I'll be able to train every week on a proper 8 meter, hopefully, which will be beneficial for me. So I'm excited.
So the World Championships are on in about a month. Do you think we'll see some people out for redemption I know that someone like a David Graff said that the Olympics was going to be his last event, but do you think he'll hang on for another month and have a crack?
Yeah, he is racing the Worlds. So yeah, I think someone like Twan as well. He's trained on that track in Papendale a lot, so I think he'll be up for redemption as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the ones that medalled sort of take a break or they go and try and capitalize on their momentum. But it should be good. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be racing just due to some things that are going on over here at the moment. So I'll just go home and reset, refresh, and come at it stronger next year or the year after.
So we might see you in Australia later in the year?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think the Oceanias are in Perth some stage this year.
November, I think.
Yeah, so that'd be cool if I could get over and do that. And we haven't raced for the Oceania title since early 2019, so that's been a long time, almost 3 years by the time we get to November. So yeah, that'll be cool.
And obviously you got some training to do for BSX, because I hear that you managed to get the old coach back on his bike.
Josh Callan.
Yeah.
I think I gave him too much notice. It's still like 6 months away. I think that's too much prep for him. How do you prep for BSX?
How do you prep? Just have fun on your bike, really, don't you?
Oh, okay. I'm always prepped.
So, how do you think this Olympics fares against previous ones? Because I know you studied them quite closely, and what do you think of the success? What it's doing for BMX racing, and how unpredictable this one was in comparison to previous Olympics?
Yeah, I think the I think the unpredictability of this Olympics is due to how much depth we have right now. I think the fact that Great Britain have gone and got two medals will do a lot for our sport. Obviously, Great Britain's a huge cycling country, but it's a huge sport country. They love their sport, and I think with the personality of Kai Watt, I think he's going to sort of push BMX more into the mainstream media. So I think that'll do huge for our sport. I've seen that Liam Gallagher tweeted saying how awesome BMX is in the Olympics, and getting a personality like that to take notice of our sport is huge. So I think, yeah, Bethany and Kai getting medals is really good for our sport. Neek, I think Neek taking the gold is one of the perfect sort of endings to this Olympic cycle. I think he's been the most dominant over the past year, so I think he was the most deserving of it. And he's obviously a huge person in the BMX world. In the cycling world, he's got a lot of sort of big following, so I'm sure that's going to do a lot of good for us as well. And then with Mariana, if she's on the podium, that's going to bring a lot of attention to our sport as well. So I personally think this Olympic cycle's done a lot for our sport. Like I said before, it was a good racetrack. I think it was really good racing. It was exciting, good format. And at the end of the day, it was deserving medalists. Although in saying that, there was a lot of deserving people that didn't make it. But at the end of the day, the people that did get the medals deserve them. So I think it was an amazing Olympics. And personally, sitting on my couch, I loved it.
What about the track? It was slightly different to previous years. It was a little bit less supercrossy than what we've seen, especially London, Rio. Do you think that they should stick with this style of track, or do you think they should go back to the old sort of bigger jumps and more split straights? And
I personally, this is currently in Beijing. Yeah, I think this is probably my favorite Olympics, just due to how much overtaking there is. Yeah, I want to see overtakes. I want to see position changes. I like the length of the track. It gives time to overtake. It gives time to change. Gives time to make mistakes, etc. And it rewarded the smoothness of people at this track. If you didn't lose speed, it rewarded you, and if you did lose speed, it harmed you. So yeah, I don't know whether it's because it's so fresh in my mind, but this is one of my favorite sort of Olympics to watch. And saying that, Rio, there was heaps of overtakes in that final, and it was super unpredictable. But yeah, I really like this track. I like the first corner without a pro straight on the second straight. if you do watch, there's lots of low lines and high lines being taken around that first corner, and they still carry similar speed down that second straight. I didn't see many people doing it, but you can actually double manual those triples and carry your speed. Maybe not at the full speed if you rail the corner, but if you do have to lose some speed and take a low line, you can still double manual to keep your speed. So I think there was heaps of options, heaps of racing lines. Maybe that second jump was a little bit steep, but no one crashed on it, so that makes me, think about that. If it was unsafe, I'm not sure. But no, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was an awesome racetrack, awesome racing. So one of my favorites.
Think it's something you'll watch over and over again for inspiration and study all the other riders?
Yeah, I think I've already watched it 2 or 3 times since the actual race finished. It's one of those things where you watch someone in particular, like you're watching whether it's your favorite rider or you obviously can't watch 8 at the time. So each time I watch it, I kind of look at someone else and, what happened to Carlos? How did he get to third? Or Sylvain Andre in the final? If you watch him, he gets pushed up over the first corner by Jora. So he's in, I think, 7th. Comes down the second straight, jumps the triple that sort of no one was doing except Tuan. Sylvain did it in the final, coming 6th or 7th, and then works his way back into 4th. And they're the little things that you don't really see if you watch it once, and you're focusing on the guy in first. And I like to watch it back 100 times and see what each person did to either get forward or lose some positions. And I mean, that's how I try and learn about racing as well. And when I'm racing, I can draw on that. So no, I loved it. And the women's as well. This is really good showcase for the women's BMX. It was really, really good.
I guess we really should do a bit of a shout out to Connor and to Sire and anybody else that crashed today, and hope they heal quick. It was horrific scenes watching Connor go down, and really disappointing for him to not be able to race in that final. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out all right for him.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all the social media posts, I guess, around how everyone felt and how everyone's experience went. I've seen David's post already saying how his day went, and no, it's exciting. And yeah, I hope Connor and Say are okay and they can give us an update soon, but not that that's a priority. But yeah, I just hope that they're all right and they can heal up soon.
All right, I don't think I've got anything else to talk about. What about you, Michael?
No, I think that was all, and it's nice chatting about the racing, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to end up watching it again over the weekend. It's supposed to rain here, so it'll be perfect viewing. Thanks very much for joining us again, and hopefully we catch up with you again soon.
Sounds good. Catch you later.
See you, mate.
Cool.